Hello folks, this is Scott, aka the Sebastian Uber driver. I'm making a little video here as an introduction. There'll be a series of them with more in-depth information, but this is just an introduction on the usage of the rideshare platforms Uber and Lyft. Most of you have at least heard of it if you haven't used it already. But I think there needs to be more exposure and more information given out in the Sebastian River area. Not that many people use it here, and there's different reasons. If you ask a passenger, they say sometimes there's a long waiting time to have a driver come, and that's because a lot of times they get pulled down from areas like Palm Bay or up from Vero Beach. There are not that many drivers in the area. The drivers, of course, tend to go to Melbourne or sometimes Orlando and those areas because they don't have the ride availability down in this area. So it's a double-edged sword. One has to have the other, and I was hoping that we can somehow generate more interest in this area. There's great potential for it. It's a great service. I've been doing this now for about a year and a half as a driver and have had no problems. And I don't know of anybody that has. Normally when you hear about issues with either Uber or Lyft, incidents, I should say, with a driver, it's normally in the larger cities, and it's not that numerous if you compare to how many people are actually doing this. So there should not be any problem in this area using the service. It's normally cheaper than a taxi, and I can tell you that even if you don't use it, you should download the app and have it available in case you have an emergency. If your car breaks down or something, that Uber driver will look mighty nice when he's pulling up to you. Okay. This is basically, I should say it's basically being tailored toward potentially new drivers or passengers. I'm sure there are a lot of experienced drivers and passengers out there that could probably add additional information. If so, you can go ahead and post on here. That's what it's all about. I am not an expert, but I've got close to 1,000 trips, and I know most of the ins and outs, things to avoid, and better potentially ways to make money as far as the drivers. So people around the Barefoot Bay area, down as far as Vero Beach, if you haven't used Lyft or Uber, at least try it. All you have to do is download it to your app. You're not obligated to anything once you sign up. You normally they normally offer some type of incentive, such as your first ride is free up to a certain amount, that type of thing. And like I say, it's good to have it on your phone in case of an emergency. Now, drivers, like I say, a lot of the drivers, including myself, go up to the Melbourne area and sometimes out to Orlando for obvious reasons. It's not profitable to stay down in this area. You just don't have the number of rides generated. In Melbourne, I do this part-time after work in the afternoon, so I drive 2-3 hours after work, and then maybe some on the weekend. I go out to Orlando on the weekend. And I do fairly well. I know the places to go where I'm most likely to find the best rides, along with hundreds of other people up in Melbourne. Melbourne's become very, very popular with drivers now. There's a lot of drivers. It's not quite like it used to be. So you could not do this on a full-time basis and make a living, but part-time, it's a nice chunk of change that you can have. Now the same is for Lyft. I keep mentioning Uber. Lyft is the same. Uber has been around Brevard and Indian River counties for some time. Lyft, a number of months back, was licensed in Brevard County, and now they are in Indian River County. So they usually follow a little bit behind Uber in some areas. But both of them are outstanding companies to work for. This is not any kind of a scam. It's the best part-time job I've ever had in my life. It's a no-brainer. I don't even have to get out of the car. Okay. They used to pay on a weekly basis through a link to your bank account. They just wire it straight to your bank. Excuse me. But both rideshare platforms now allow you to cash out the same day, and actually a number of times each day. Lyft has a minimal requirement of $50 before they allow you to cash out, but Uber, you can cash out if you have a $1.50, you can cash out. But both of them are going to charge you 50 cents. But that's a real nice thing, because I can literally take somebody from point A to point B, and I'm paid instantly, and I can transfer that right to my bank if I wanted to. I usually let it accumulate for some time, though. If I'm on an Uber trip, I am covered by Uber's insurance policy, not my own personal policy. The company, my personal insurance company, is aware of what I'm doing. They are okay with it, as long as I understand that while I'm on a trip with Uber, that they're not going to cover me, and I don't expect them to. So I don't have to worry about, while I'm using this service, of what my insurance company might say. So anyway, it doesn't take long to sign up. You can download the app. You fill out a little bit of general information. They do a traffic and a criminal background to make sure you don't have any extreme issues. And normally it's finalized within the same week, and then you're ready, set, go. You're ready to go. Start earning money, and it's that easy. You can earn as much as you want to. What I normally do is, at the end of the week, if I don't have the amount that I would like to make in the Melbourne area, then I go out to Orlando, which is a whole different ballgame. In Orlando, it's rock and roll from the time that you get there until the time you leave. It's just phenomenal how many people want rides out there. And they have all types of incentives, like what they call surge times, when the highest demand for drivers occurs. If you're in that area and they accept a ride, you can have multiples of 1.5, 2, 3, 4 times what you would normally make on that trip. So it's just simply phenomenal, the kind of money you can make out there. But I would not recommend going to Orlando until after you become comfortable with it. You drive in this area, even though it might be a little slow. You get used to using the apps. Lyft and Uber, the first thing you should do is become familiar with both of them completely until you're comfortable with them. Once you start going on some rides, you become more comfortable with having people in the car. I think part of the problem sometimes is that people really are a little reluctant to get in another car with somebody to go wherever they're going. And some of the drivers, the same thing. They're not used to having people in their car driving them around. But anyway, you do the same thing if you're taking a taxi. So on both sides, it just takes a little bit of getting used to, and it's real easy. You find that out. So I would highly recommend, if anybody is looking for a part-time job, to go ahead and sign up with Uber and Lyft. For the passenger side, if you need to go to work, when you have car problems, things like that, the passenger app really comes in handy, I'm telling you, in emergencies. Uber has it now that you can share the expenses with a group. If, say, there's 4 of you going somewhere, you can share the expense of the ride between the 4 of you. Also, you can have the real-time account of your trip sent to somebody else, a third party, a family member or something, so they'll have an ETA of when you're expected to arrive at a certain point. It's really a user-friendly app, both Uber and Lyft, and it's a revolutionary idea that's long in coming. So I would highly recommend drivers, like I said, if you want to make extra money, once you get used to it. I can go out to Orlando in one day and make $200 with no problem whatsoever. It just, what you make basically is what you're allowed to put, what you're willing to put into it. I'm sure I probably skipped over other items, but like I say in future videos, I try to do something in sequence where it's more detailed, better to understand. I'm just trying to push the idea of using these two ride-sharing platforms because they really are God's grace, I'm telling you. If you do sign up and you go to their website, make sure that you use a referral code or a promo code. I have mine listed if you want to use them. All the drivers have them. Unless you see something better than that, you can use mine. I have it for both passenger apps on Uber and Lyft and driver apps for Uber and Lyft. Okay. Normally, for example, Uber, when you sign up, your first trip is free or something of that sort. They usually provide some type of incentive. I'm sure Lyft does too. I don't use the apps, the passenger apps. Drivers, if you sign up in this area, no matter what code you use, if you sign up in this area, you're going to receive a certain amount if it's offered. I don't know what it is. They're very hush-hush about that, or at least I couldn't get the information for them. I do know that in the Orlando area, currently, if somebody signs up, for example, if they use my code and they sign up, their terms that apply, they do a certain number of rides in a certain amount of time, and they earn $100. And of course, an incentive goes to the driver also. That's what it's all about. So anyway, like I say, you can use my referral codes or somebody else, it doesn't matter, but make sure you put one in when you sign up, because if you don't, you're probably not going to receive any type of bonus or incentive. That's what those referral codes usually generate. Okay, that's all for right now. Not the best video. I'm not ready for Hollywood, I guess, but I'm trying to get the information that I'm trying to convey to you out. And like I say, very soon I'll start having other videos that are much more detailed as far as how to use the apps and other nice to know information. Meantime, have a good one.